realistically, you don't know if I'm real. You don't know if I'm completely AI generated or not. And realistically, I don't know if anybody is even watching this. I don't know if anybody's watching these. I just see numbers bumping up on a page. Holy shit. Lately, a lot of the official videos that have been coming out have been looking really suspiciously fake to me. Maybe I'm just overanalyzing things. Maybe I honestly don't know what the deal is. But luckily, the algorithm tossed me a bone and gave me a video discussing this exact phenomenon. I thought we could watch this together. Let's go.
A while back, a Chinese company, Deep Blue Aerospace, did a vertical takeoff and landing of its Nebula 1 rocket in Mongolia. Now, the rocket looked like it was going to successfully land, but for whatever reason, it seemed to think that the land was closer than it was, and then it just shut off the engines and crashed to the ground and exploded. And all of this was caught on camera by a drone that was piloted around the rocket as it came in for that landing and then very impressively exploded. This video did the rounds on some content platforms, as you would expect it to, and everywhere I saw it, the same thing happened. People in the replies said that it was fake. It was fake AI bollocks. It wasn't AI, it was CGI. No, it was AI. The person who posted it should obviously have known that it was AI, and then the person who posted it themselves isn't actually sure if it's real. This guy knows so much, he can even explain how it was faked by keeping movement the whole time, which is especially embarrassing because of how it wasn't fake. But ever since I saw these comments, which is like months ago now, I have been spiraling a little bit. Like, we gotta look hard at a couple of things here. First, why did this feel fake? And second, how will we ever know again if something is real? So when I first saw this, I have to say, to me...
And that hits the nail on the head perfectly right there. We are just now entering the first stages where we can't tell what's real anymore. We don't even have to discuss the idea of technology that's being hidden from us. You can look at public AI technology that's indistinguishable from human-made. And you can look at the results from various AI detectors across the board, and none of them are perfect. None of them are completely reliable. We really are at the beginning stages where we can't tell what's real.
It might have been that I watched a lot of rockets land, and I've watched a lot of drone videos, and I've edited a lot of videos, and I've watched a lot of AI videos, so I had like the necessary inputs to have a good BS detector in this situation, but my gut reaction was like, that doesn't seem fake. Now, the fakest part of the video is this part right here, where they slow down the explosion. So this was shot on a high-speed camera, probably 60 frames per second, maybe 120. This is not especially advanced technology, but it means that you can slow the footage down while keeping it smooth. But I think that like feels kind of like the movies. It feels movie-ish. I've seen a lot of slowed down explosions, but mostly in fiction. We don't tend to see them in footage of real things that are really happening because it feels like maybe a little bit disrespectful to the reality of a big explosion. Because a big explosion that happened in the real world shouldn't be about the drama. It should be about like the problem that happened. But in this case, it's probably fine for it to be about the drama because it's just a test launch, and sometimes test launches explode. But this situation where them slowing down the footage made it feel more fake reminds me of like the soap opera effect, where if you turn on motion smoothing on a TV, it will look worse. To me, it looks like a crappy soap opera from when I was a kid, because soap operas didn't use the same film that TV used to use, so it looked like smoother for some reason. I don't really get it. I just know how I feel as a person when I'm watching it. But because lower quality stuff had that look, and it looked like smoother, and higher quality stuff didn't, then making something smoother makes it feel more low quality to me, which I think is entirely a cultural thing about my brain. It's just vibes. In the same way I think slowed down explosions look a little bit fake. It's just some pattern matching that's happening inside of me. But I will say that I had the vibes that this was real. That doesn't mean that I accepted it as real after seeing it questioned. I watched it for signs that it might be AI. And one thing that made me think that it definitely wasn't was all of the buildings would go off camera and then they would come back in the same shape. And that's not something that AI can do right now. Like, if something goes away, it forgets it ever existed, and when it comes back, it will either not be there or will be different. So that made me think it was real. But the real proof is that I looked it up and I found a second angle of the same footage and some actual press coverage and the normal press of the launch. Without that press coverage, like literally, I would not have been comfortable saying that it was real.
So he admits, without additional sources, he wouldn't be comfortable confirming that it was real. I mean, it's slightly alarming, that concept that realistically, you don't know if I'm real. You don't know if I'm completely AI generated or not. That's almost scary, but it's also profound. And realistically, I don't know if anybody is even watching this. I don't know if anybody's watching these. I just see numbers bumping up on a page. Holy shit, I might be freaking out right now.
That's like the thing here. We're going to need organizations that we can trust so that they can do the hard work for us and we won't have to. And that's going to be hard, especially because we've gotten really used to not paying for anything and organizations cost money. Otherwise, we're going to be operating on vibes a lot. Like we're operating on vibes a lot right now. And there are some things that do just kind of look like AI. Like we can tell now. This picture of a beach looks like AI.
I'm going to be honest, like I didn't watch this and there is like a little pit in my stomach that I feel of genuine concern. I was hoping, there was a little tiny bit of me that was hoping that this individual was going to be like, we have a way. We have a way to tell if this is AI. But he's just genuinely saying that we can't tell the difference. And it just feels like there's an air of unpredictability. So it's exciting and it's also concerning. And it's like, where does the roll of the die go?
It's too perfect. It's weirdly crisp and all the colors are too saturated. Like this is what a beach actually looks like. This is a photo of a beach. That's not AI, except it is AI. It was created with a different prompt, the beach, but it looks like it was taken by an amateur with an iPhone 15. So AI by default does make stuff that looks like AI, but it also can be made to make stuff that's hard to tell whether or not it's AI. And I do think it's kind of amazing how good people have gotten really quickly at getting a vibe for whether or not something looks like AI. Like this image that was just posted by the head of the Department of Transportation with like this Uncle Sam, like that's an AI Uncle Sam. I couldn't tell you why that's an AI Uncle Sam, but that's an AI Uncle Sam. We don't like being tricked. Also,
there is a current style of AI art where it feels AI generated. And you can primarily see this in thumbnails. That's where you can be like, okay, that one's definitely AI generated. But a lot of them you can't tell. It's like you can build around it looking not AI. The people that go to extra effort to filter out certain AI elements because they can't tell, that baffles me, but that's a whole other subject. Regardless, I did read this article. It was talking about this current elementary style of AI art generation that looks distinct what they were predicting is going to be a certain aesthetic that in 10, 15, 20 years will actually be a desirable style of aesthetic that people will try to attain. It will be like a certain 50s or 60s style that will transfer with the times, and that kind of AI aesthetic will actually be desirable to certain groups and styles and niches.
It's AI Uncle Sam, but that's AI Uncle Sam. We don't like being tricked. Also, AI images are often tacky and hacky, and especially as we see a lot of them, we get tired of it really quickly. That's how I feel about AI Uncle Sam here. I'm like, this is a fake man. It's kind of gross that a government official is using it. There's all the reasons why it's actually worrying, non-consensual data sets and environmental impact and all that, but also it's just kind of gross. Like, I just kind of don't like it, It makes me think all the people who are going to be applying to be air traffic controllers are people who don't know the difference between AI and not AI. But I think the reason that it feels kind of like just cringe to me is because it is so easy to create it. It often lacks any substance or weight. It just always feels empty and derivative. But I think in addition to that, we tire of repetitive styles really quickly. If something looks a way, it can only look that way for a little while before culture moves on from it. And that means that like constant exposure to the current era of visually similar AI images makes that stuff just feel cringe really fast. All of this together is resulting in what people call AI slop. These low quality images or low quality text that are rapidly filling up the internet. Now there's a backlash against the slop. That is of course not uniform across culture, but it does exist. And it's giving me a little bit of hope because it does suck. Like, it is bad art, and our brains turn out to be pretty good at vibing out what feels real and what feels fake, as long as we're exposed to enough of it. And this is, I think, an important point. It's not just that it feels fake. It's that if it's really easy to create something that people like, then there will be a lot of it really fast, and the amount of it will turn us off of it. We will find it cringe quite quickly because there'll be just so much of it that culture will move on from it. Now, we're not perfect at any of this. One, culture for some areas of society moves more slowly, and so they won't find it cringe as fast. And we're already kind of seeing that divide, I feel like, in the, world of the kinds of people who are still listening to the modern country music, which sounds a heck of a lot like it did when I was a kid. And a lot of those folks are baffled by the fact that Kendrick Lamar exists. Just didn't know he existed until the Super Bowl. And Kendrick Lamar's hip hop sounds very different from the hip hop of my childhood. So the cultural effect is going to be uneven, but there are also just so many times when people are going to see real things and it's going to feel fake. Like the kinds of people who make art that get popular in sort of AI image generation, either because the models themselves are preferring it or because the people who are making the art have figured out a way to like make something that they all like for a moment. The people who make stuff that's like that will get carried along with the AI stuff into cringe territory, and they won't be able to make stuff anymore that people like. And that's wild. Their art will look like AI. It will flag our authenticity radars as inauthentic in the same way that that video of this rocket ship flagged authenticity radars because it had aesthetic properties that looked like stuff that had been faked or was in sort of a fictional realm. So we're all developing our authenticity radars and our cringe radars, and those radars are going to need to be constantly tuned and understood to always be imperfect.
I'm surprised he hasn't mentioned the uncanny valley in all of this, because I think there's a good amount of tolerance to the uncanny valley that we're all slowly being exposed to. Right now, it's only limited, obviously, in the realm of robotics and, the physical realm, but you can see a number of different podcasts. Well, I should say you can hear a number of different podcasts that are right on the cusp of sounding like a legitimate podcast. And it's almost startling that you cannot really tell the difference right away. You have to kind of let it play out and let the AI's faults, expose itself. AI in this sense makes me think of the shovels that were sold during the Wild West days, or the gold rush days, where people were, spending all their time trying to mine gold. And the people that got really wealthy were the people selling the shovels. And that's kind of what it feels like. You have a bunch of people trying to go out and mine gold using their shovels, AI, and they're not necessarily digging up a lot of gold. But you're certainly seeing a lot of people trying to mine for it.
Eventually, I really do think that we will simply not be able to tell the difference between AI images and real ones, and it's going to be a real mess. Sarah Jiang at The Verge said this a while back. We briefly lived in an era in which the photograph was a shortcut to reality. Briefly, and no longer. The tools that we need to navigate a world where that is not the case have not yet been developed, and it's not going to be easy to deal with, especially when we're in a world that does not reward organizations that work hard to uncover truth. We are in a world of content that disrupts our authenticity radars. We are in a world of epistemic overload, of not knowing, just like so hard to suss out truth all of the time. And we are also in a world where we have degraded and ignored and not supported institutions that actually do a good job of uncovering truth.
This guy's about to have a meltdown just like me. I love it. Yeah, it's basically you look around at the situation around us and it's amazing that we're all just not just screaming at the top of our lungs. What the hell is going on?
How anyone will know what is real in 5 years is entirely unknown to me. But I think that we are going to have to build those systems. Like, we will build them because we'll have to. But in order to get there, we're going to need people and systems and organizations that have a strong alliance to the truth, and that is not always well selected for by algorithmic media.
That was awesome. Really cool watch. As always, links down below. That's all for this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.